Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld, and today we're going to take a look at whether it's possible to build a comparable gaming PC for the same price as a console in 2015. A lot of people covered this topic when the next-gen consoles first launched, but now that the price of the consoles has dropped, is it still possible to build a comparable system? I should be clear that in this video, I'm not comparing consoles to gaming PCs. I am a PC gamer myself, so I do realise they have the potential to be much better. Also, I'm going to be basing my build on Australian prices, which can be a bit more expensive, but as the consoles will be too, it should still be a fairly even comparison. Now, the site that we're going to be using to price up our PC is PCCaseGear.com, which is probably one of the most well-known online PC parts dealers in Australia. Obviously, you don't have to buy everything from one dealer, but these guys do have pretty much everything that we're going to need to build a comparable system. Another thing I should mention before we start is that many of the parts in the PS4 and the Xbox One aren't available to the public, and the consoles are better optimized to use them in a lot of ways. I've done a lot of research though, and from watching a lot of benchmarking videos, I think the specs in this build are pretty comparable, so it should be able to run BF4 on high settings at 900p between 50 and 60 FPS. Now, the challenge in this build is going to be making it as cheap as the consoles, which are mass-produced and, like I said, optimized to run better on cheaper parts. We're going to have to cut a lot of corners to make this build work, and as anyone who's built a PC from scratch before knows, opting for the cheapest option is almost never a good idea. The benefit of a PC, though, is that we don't have to worry too much about the cost of a DVD drive or a wireless card, because most people will be using Steam and most motherboards come standard with Ethernet. As you'll see though, even without these parts, it's still going to be very hard to match the price of the consoles, which currently go from between $550 and $600 in Australia, and also come with 3 or 4 games. But anyway, to start off, we're going to look at cases, and ideally we're going to want at least a micro ATX case with a power supply built in, like this Thermaltake Versa H15 for $79. Now, you can't really expect much for $79, but for a case and a power supply, this is pretty cheap, and this case also comes with a 120mm fan to help keep everything cool. The next thing we're going to add is a motherboard, and as you can see, we're going to go with this cheap $99 AM3 Plus board, because AMD CPUs are going to give us more bang for our buck. Asus is also a decent brand, so even though this board is pretty basic, it should be pretty reliable, and it should do everything we need it to do. So now that we have a motherboard, we're going to add in the heart of our PC, the CPU, which in this case will be an AMD FX 6300, which comes in at $149. Basically, we're not looking for anything to blow us out of the water here, but we are looking for something that's not going to bottleneck the rest of our system, and in this case the 6300 is about right. Next on our list is memory, and for this build we're definitely going to need at least 8 gigs of DDR3, because most modern games aren't really designed to run with any less. G-Skill's Ripjaws X is probably some of the most common RAM you're going to see in budget builds, and for $99 these two 4GB sticks should be more than enough for our system. So we're basically through the majority of our main components now, and all we have left to add is a hard drive and a GPU, so let's add in this 500GB Western Digital Blue drive. This isn't probably the most cost-effective choice for a gaming PC, which we'll talk about later, but it's definitely cheap and it also runs at 7200 RPM. And last but not least, probably the most important part of our rig will be this Sapphire R7 260X GPU, which should give a similar or better performance than a console. This is really the bare minimum you're going to want for a gaming PC in 2015, but as you can see, at $655 total, we've already broken our $600 cap, and we haven't even factored in the cost of an operating system or any extras. Now, if you're willing to overclock your system, or if you shop around for parts, you might be able to build a similar system for less than the price of a console. That being said though, any budget system isn't exactly going to be future-proof, because as PCs aren't as optimized, you can't really expect them to perform at a comparable level a few years down the track. Consoles aren't the best option for gaming, but they definitely offer decent performance for a decent price, and to build a noticeably better PC, you're going to need to spend a lot more money. If you don't already have a PC though, then a budget build like this might be the way to go, and considering games on Steam are generally a lot cheaper too, you might be able to justify spending a little bit more initially. Now, speaking of upgrades, well, if you're willing to spend an extra $80, adding in a better graphics card like this R9 270X is going to give you a lot better performance than the 260X. Also, for only an extra $6 you can get yourself double the hard drive space, and for another $85 you can get yourself a small SSD for your operating system and some of your games. Most PC guys would also recommend that you get yourself a slightly bigger case and power supply, so for only an extra $6 you can upgrade both to something a bit more usable. While you're at it, if you're getting yourself a bigger case for an extra $16 you might as well get a better motherboard, for an extra $10 some slightly better memory, and for an extra $24 a few more fans. This is probably about the rig I'd recommend for gamers wanting to get into PC gaming, because not only is it going to allow you to run most games at 1080p and 60 FPS, it's going to be a lot more future-proof. As you can see, it's really not a lot more money to go up another tier, but when you add it all up at $881, we're now looking at something a lot more expensive than the price of a console. The fact is, it's much more cost effective to build a mid-level rig like this than it is to build a budget rig, because for every dollar you spend, you're getting significantly more performance. Hopefully now you guys can see that it is conceivably possible to build a PC for the same price as a console, but you're much better off spending that little bit extra. But anyway guys, let me know what you think about this build, and as always, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the links in the description below if you want to see more of my videos, or if you'd like to support my channel on Patreon. And until next time, see you later, and have a good one.